Blog Talk Radio.
Whoa, what was that? Oh, I think it was my other thing. Hey, let me start the show up again. Man, I hit the wrong button.
What's up, fellas? Tired of wasting your time and coming out of pocket on dates? Man, is your woman telling you what to do, like she's your mom? Then you need to listen to my dad, the Dean, his boy, the Flash, and the False Lady Honey every Tuesday night with Dad.
Dad got hoes.
With Uncle Plankton.
Haven't you figured it out? Nice guys finish last.
And Mom.
Damn!
Oh, Florida. Don't forget, every Tuesday night, get your game together. Peace.
Program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Are you with a woman who has trouble compromising, who is more caught up in building a lifestyle than a life, who is jealous and possessive, or who makes sex seem like a chore? Whether you're married or in a committed relationship, this is the show for you. Beyond Dating with your hosts, Dion and the Dean.
Now, hey, D, how was that as an introduction, man?
Oh, that was lovely.
That was lovely. What is going on, K-Pasa? What is going on, everybody in the podcast and blog talk radio sector of the world? Hey, class is in session. This is your boy, the Dean. Man, I got my boy D. D, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing quite well. How about yourself?
Cowboys lost. I'm feeling a little low, but you know what? I'm a boy. We got a special guest, and he is bringing me up. So, D, man, how was your Christmas? Real quick. Christmas was good and everything?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty nice, man. I ain't have no complaints, man. By the way, love the gift. Everybody else seemed to love it too, man.
Oh, really? You went to work and showed everybody the gift?
Oh yeah, I told you I had to, man.
Oh, okay. That's just how L works and everything.
See, a lot of love went into that, man. I was touched and everything, man. So I sleep with it at night. You know?
Oh, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know, it was a picture. Dion performed Miracle on 34th Street, and my wife took the tickets and framed the pamphlet and all the other stuff for him. So, no, it's not what you're thinking. But anyway, what y'all thinking is, hey, Beyond Dating, this show that's going to show you how to think outside of your dating box when it comes to dating. I am your man, the Dean. Class is definitely in session. Everybody get your crayons out. We are being brought to you by www.adviceonwomen.com. It's something that your dad can't teach you and your mother won't. Boy, feeling good, man. Wow. New Year's is around the corner, but you know what? We got a special guest for you, so it's time to bring him in. And I want everybody to know, look, I'm very, very picky when it comes to my guests. Not only am I picky when it comes to my guests, it's not every day that I meet somebody who knows the game, a guy that knows the ins and outs of what they call the seduction community. I know a lot of people probably haven't heard of the seduction community or in the blog talk sector. But the seduction community is basically a group of men who think they know game, and what they do is they teach people how to date and how to pick up women. And I met this guy, and this guy blew me away. He blew me away so much I had to have him as our very first interview on the show. He's got 3 great books. One is called Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, From Loser to Seducer. And I'm a man, that's my job. D, that's pretty cool, huh?
Oh, yeah, that was lovely.
No, all the way from up north in Canada, his name, Frank B. Kermit. Frank, I want to welcome you on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Dean. It's great to be here. Always a pleasure to be interviewed by Steve the Dean. And hello to Dion. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, too, man.
Now listen here, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to call in and talk, we got a lot of things to cover, man. We have a lot of things to cover. If you want to call in, please get your crayons out. Call in at area code 347-838-8420. We're here with Frank from Frank's Talks, and he is going to talk to us about dating in the game. But first, let's get to know Frank. Frank, why don't you tell us the story of Frank B. Kermit?
All right, the story of Frank B. Kermit starts out when I was a teenager, and I hit my first strike, my first big major heartbreak. I got stood up at my prom. That's the thing that movies are made about. It really happened to me. And there's some things that change the course of your life, change the way you see things, change the way you see yourself. When I got into university, by then I had already lost my virginity. I had had a few girlfriends. In university, I met a girl who I thought for sure I was going to marry. We were together for 3 years on and off. I was absolutely convinced she was the one. And after 3 years together on and off in a very drama-filled relationship, she ended up with one of my best friends. So that was a double betrayal right there. I started figuring out, you know what? I got so enraged, I got so angry, and I turned it all inward. A couple of years later, I had met up with another girl that I hung out with her for 2 years, and she insisted that her and I could never date because she was of different race and culture than me. I respected that. I said, you know what, but I really like her, so I'm going to spend time with her, spend all kinds of money on her. Every time we went out, I paid for everything. And then one day, around Christmas time, she announces to me that she's met somebody and is getting married.
Wow.
Now, that was already hard enough to take. But again, I was happy for her until I found out that the guy she was about to marry was a guy who was of a different race and culture than her.
Oh, man.
That was it. That for me was, but I don't understand. You told me we couldn't date for that reason, so what gives? And she said she had rejected him at first, but he pursued her. And she didn't expect it to happen. He just seduced her. And it was that night that I said, you know what? This stuff keeps happening to me. It's got to stop. And that's when I made the decision to change my life. At that particular point, it had been 2.5 years since I had gotten any sex. I was very, very touch-starved. And that's when I decided that I was going to make getting my love life in order my priority, and nothing else, not school, not my work, not anything else was ever going to be as important as that. And I ended up, after 5 years of having no sex in total, I built my first harem of 5 girlfriends at the same time. I got back my ex-fiancée, which was gave me a lot of closure. I had a poly date, which is to bring 2 girls together on Valentine's Day for the same dinner date and festivities. I've had some really great relationships, some amazing women, most of whom I'm still in very good contact with. And about 3 to 4 months ago, I got married.
Congratulations. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
That is great. Now I need to get your opinion on the Seduction Community, because I don't know if I gave them enough props. So I'm be quiet and let you kind of explain to the listeners what the Seduction Community is and what part do you play in the Seduction Community.
All right. I am a product of the Seduction Community, but I'm not a Seduction Community product. Let's get really right into it. So the Seduction Community was forced into existence after militant feminism changed the way that women viewed relationships. It changed the way that men viewed relationships, because both men and women had different expectations about what a relationship is supposed to be. They went into it with a bunch of intellectual constructs about how a relationship should be, and unfortunately, a lot of those particular constructs don't work in the real world. The very idea that a man and woman have to be absolutely equal in everything in a relationship works great as an intellectual idea, but it kills attraction when you're actually in a relationship like that. Men and women need equal rights under the law to protection, but men and women are not equal, and trying to force an ideal on a reality that doesn't accept it causes heartache. So a lot of guys end up becoming lost. When Ross Jeffries started putting out products on speed seduction, their material was so dense that guys needed help to study the material. So through Ross Jeffries' list, people were saying, hey, is anybody in this city? Let's meet up and study this material. Eventually, those formed the first male layers. Women have been forming seduction layers for years. If you've read the book called The Rules, they talk about how women will constantly talk to other women about how to make a guy become obsessed with them, how to keep a guy lingering on, how to use sex to make a guy want you more by holding out and by playing games. Women were parts of the first seduction layers ever. Now men were getting together to study this material. Originally, all layers were speed seduction layers. Eventually, once everybody else started creating products and different theories about seduction, layers were now known only as seduction layers because they embodied a number of the different schools of seduction. The original seduction layers were guys who usually had the rest of their lives pretty well in order, but sucked at their love lives. You're dealing with a higher quality of men. You're dealing with guys between the ages of, let's say, 25 to 40. That was your average age in the original seduction layers. And most of the guys were good, high-quality guys. They had careers, or they had already found themselves. They knew what they were about. But when it came to women, they just couldn't make it work. And a lot of the friendships that formed there became incredibly strong. When Neil Strauss released the book The Game and took something that was previously underground and made it more mainstream, that's when the floodgates opened. You ended up with guys as young as 13 years old who weren't even old enough to even have sex in certain parts of the world, trying to study to become a pickup artist, trying to use things that would work maybe in a club environment, which they weren't even allowed to get into, and starting to join layers. Nowadays, you have a bunch of young guys who, because of their youth, don't understand the concept that there are consequences to their actions.
Absolutely.
You're dealing with guys who haven't really come to the conclusion and said, you know what, my love life sucks, I got to make the change, and that they went searching for the seduction community. You now had guys who, because this has become mainstream, figure, well, this is the latest fad, or this is the way it's supposed to be for everybody. The seduction community today, because it's so mainstream, has robbed women, it has robbed the world of its future naturals. There are guys out there who will naturally learn what to do, what works for them when it comes to being with women. They have been lost to us now because at an early age they're told, no, you got to study this. It just becomes the quote-unquote in thing, the fad. In most layers today, and I run a layer myself, we went from when the layers originally started, maybe you had 3 to 4 new members a month. Nowadays you can have up to 6 to 10 new members a week. These guys show up, they listen to some of your stories, they make you go through the work of signing them on the board, and then they disappear because it's not really for them. They just wanted to check it out. Mm-hmm. When Seduction Community first began, the guys had to work to even just find if a layer existed. There was a high level of commitment.
Now, I want to ask you a question, because in the Seduction Community, there's certain people in there that teach young men. And, that's my biggest problem, that, there are people, they're teaching our young men to be more feminine, or what kind of, I would say, word peacocking, or dress in a weird way to draw attention, as in wearing fingernail polish and eyeliner and things like that. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Okay, the idea of peacocking doesn't necessarily have to be feminine. The idea is that you're going to wear something that's going to get you attention. Now, this makes it much easier to approach women and to get into a conversation with a woman who otherwise either would give you a much harder time or wouldn't talk to you at all. When I went through my development of loser to seducer, I insisted that my peacocking phase would be the last thing I do, because I simply wanted to know for myself that I wanted to be able to get laid and get into relationships without peacocking. If I knew that I could get laid without peacocking, then I could properly experiment with peacocking.
Mm-hmm.
What peacocking will do is that if you go out, let's say, to a club environment, and you have a certain look about you, it'll make some of the women approach you, and it makes it a lot easier to get into conversation. When I decided to go into peacocking, you can read about this in my autobiography, Lose It or Seduce Her, I reached a point where a woman paid me for sex. That's when I knew that I had reached my plateau and said, okay, I have enough skill that some girl out there paid me. I'm overweight, I'm not very good looking, I don't have a lot of money, I don't have very much going for me, and some woman paid me money so that she could have sex with me. And this is a girl who had already had sex with me.
So let me ask you this question. What, in your opinion, because right now I see a lot of guys, a lot of in the black community they're called simping, or a lot of guys are acting more feminine and just scared of women, not manning up and telling a woman what he thinks. You know, a lot of Raymonds and stuff. What is your opinion on the state of men, all different races, when it comes to women and comes to dating?
Okay, I got two opinions on that. The first opinion is this. Men have lost their masculine identity. Because the bottom line is, if he's a heterosexual male, he wants to have sex with women. That's his driving force. And if he assumes that behaving feminine is going to work for him, and for a couple of guys out there, it has worked for them.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to do that because he thinks, well, this is going to get me women's attention. For those guys that it's worked for, the women that they're usually getting are women who have issues with aggressive males and would just as likely want to be with a man who is so feminine because they feel safer. So that's my first comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
My second comment is that when you're dealing with the seduction community, after the major influx coming from the game, a high percentage of the men coming into layers and coming into the seduction community were actually homosexual, but who could not deal with being homosexual, so they'd rather fit the guise of, I'm a straight guy who can't get laid, rather than be a gay guy who can't deal with his orientation. Now, you have to understand, I have been doing this now for about 10 years, and in that time I've counseled a lot of men.
Right.
And when a guy starts getting into a conversation with me and into almost an argument, insisting that him making out with another guy doesn't make him gay, I look at that and I say, well, it certainly doesn't make you completely straight.
Yeah, okay. When I'm out and about, no matter where I'm at, it just breaks my heart to see women disrespectful to their men or their husbands or their boyfriends, talk down to them, mother them, you know, just like take their spine and rip it out, you know, and put it in the backyard. What is your opinion on that? What do you think the main issue is when it comes to men not being men?
I think first and foremost that if you're talking about long-term relationships, these women have started to feel like mothers to their husbands and boyfriends. The mothering instinct in a woman is always on. That's why even if you've had sex with her a dozen times, you've had children with her, you've been in a long-term relationship, it's her instinct to constantly mother. And what happens over time is guys will get slack. They won't keep saying, honey, stop mothering me. It just becomes easier to let her mother you on a lot of small things. Women may like being motherly, but they end up resenting the man that they're with because the motherly feelings that are then brought up kill the attraction for the man. She no longer feels like a lover, she feels only like a mother. This is why those guys who are somewhat aggressive, who will say things like, stop mothering me, or you don't have to do that for me, I can do it myself. Stop telling me what to do. The woman may react angry at first, but she can't help but be turned on by it, because he has halted the mothering instinct. Therefore, by default, she must feel like his lover.
Now, what about the problem with men in dating, the dating issue of what's going on in today, with 2008, which will be in a few days?
What I think is going on right now, because men have lost their gender identity, they don't know what it means to be a man, they don't know how to behave like a man, and our generation of men has been brought up always with the constant thought in our heads, don't ever hurt a woman. Well, somewhere that message got confused. It went from don't hurt a woman, meaning don't be violent, and became be nice to women. Well, for a guy, being nice to a woman is different from what a woman understands a guy being nice to a woman.
Right.
Because men are constantly trying to be nice to women and they're afraid of hurting them, these guys don't trust themselves. They don't trust themselves to not get aggressive. So they have become so nice to women that it's turned women off. Women themselves are just as guilty for this because they keep saying to everybody, I want a really nice guy. Mm-hmm. So the man who really likes her behaves very nice, very caring, very devoted, but he doesn't make her feel that she's earned it. Therefore, she can't help but be turned off by the very guys that she's telling, hey, be nice and I'll go out with a guy who's nice. So they become nice, she's turned off by them. She can't help but be attracted and respond to the guy who is not necessarily nice, but who is also not violent. The man must lead, and sometimes when you're leading a relationship, the same way that you're the boss in a company, the same way that you may have to order somebody in an army to do something that you know is going to hurt them. A leader is not supposed to be nice. A leader must lead and set boundaries and offer direction.
Absolutely. What would you say in your old relationship that you had, when your wife cheated on you, your first wife, would you say you were overly nice?
Oh yeah. Now you have to understand that when I first met her, at the time I was in charge of a small organization through the university. I was feeling good about my life. I was feeling good about what I was studying. So I had a lot of things going for me. And when I dated her, although I was very chivalrous, I'd open the door for her and things like that. And I liked doing nice stuff like that. I got to the point where I became too needy for her because I loved her so much. And I thought, no. I mean, I plan to marry this girl, so I have to really be good or she'll leave me. And that neediness, compounded by the fact there was all this drama of breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together. And I got sucked into the drama. By the end of it, I was a shell of a man, and all the things that I had done initially to attract her, I had stopped doing. Now, with MySpace, do you ever go on MySpace? Yeah, I do. Okay, when I go on MySpace sometimes I stumble on some of these sexy women's profiles, and when you go on their page, you see a list of guys that have commented on her page about how beautiful she is, how they would love to marry her, how they would love to buy her a house or a car or jewelry. Why are these men handing over their respect like Halloween candy to these women that they have no idea what they're about, only just looks? When you're dealing with low-quality men, a low-quality man wants to buy a woman's affection because he figures, or he has been taught, that that's the way you keep a woman. You become a good provider, and the more you can provide her with, the more she'll stick around. A high-value man knows different. Why? Because us high-value guys end up having sex with all those women that are with good provider men. Case in point, the guy's taking her out, buying her food, buying her dinner, and all she does is take a few bites, and she leaves and cooks the rest up for the man waiting in the bushes. Exactly. Now, you have a few books that I'd like to talk to you about. Now, I guess From Loser to Seducer was a little, you've already kind of touched on that. We're talking about, your back-end story to where you are right now. Yeah. Now, you have your other book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Can you please, and everybody who is listening to this show, please get your crayons out. This is very vital information to you guys because I'm telling you,
if you don't listen to this kind of stuff, you're going to end up to like those guys on Everybody Loves Raymond, just afraid of his wife and gets in the fetal position in a corner when she tells you to do something. So can you tell us about Everything Out of Her Mouth as a Test? What made you write this book first off? What was the thing that said, you know what, I need to write this book?
All right, when I started training guys and helping guys, one guy would tell another guy who would tell another guy, and I was getting lots of referrals. So I wasn't just dealing with one-on-one, talks over coffee. All of a sudden, it went from one-on-one to having groups of guys at the same time, and I was repeating the same information over and over and over. Finally, they were starting to ask me questions like, Frank, do you have any of this written down? Because sometimes they would want to come back and ask me the same questions. The bottom line is, I had so many people wanting the same information that it only made sense for me to write it down in a book. And you have to understand, when I got into seduction, I never imagined that I would be doing this as a try to set up a company or trying to do this for a living. This is something I did for myself. And for the longest time, I was going to keep it an absolute secret that I went through this process. In Everything Out of Her Mouth as a Test, that's my base seduction philosophy.
So talk to is Everything Out of Her Mouth as a test?
If you're in development, if you're reprogramming your brain, the answer is yes, absolutely. Now, between you and me, between me and the world, is Everything Out of Her Mouth a test? Of course not. Sometimes a woman will ask you something, the example I like to use is, honey, what's the weather like outside? Now, is that a test? Or is she simply asking, honey, what's the weather like outside?
Okay.
However, if you're a man who has struggled with trying to understand women, who has struggled with even maintaining a relationship there where you can actually get the girl, but you cannot keep her, then the theory, Everything Out of Her Mouth as a Test, means that the man is constantly on guard. He's constantly looking for the emotional need in what she is saying. He's constantly ready so that by seeing everything as a test, he's never in a position where he gets caught off guard and doesn't know what to say.
Well, one thing I think when it deals with men going out on these first dates and spending all this money and taking them to these fancy restaurants and trying to woo them, it seems like whatever she says is right, and I don't think men really realize that when a woman is asking you a question or gives her opinion on something, she wants your opinion to see if you're going to be man enough to say, no, you're wrong, it's this.
That's right.
Please, can you elaborate on that?
Okay, you're dealing with men who, when growing up, were constantly told by teachers, oh, women grow up and are mature faster than men. Or let's say girls mature faster than boys. Women are conditioned from a very young age to be prim and proper. So guys, especially if they had a very strong maternal figure, are always taught I should listen to women. I have to be nice to women. Women will know the answer since they mature more. One of my mentors used to say, you remember the poem as kids, sugar and spice and everything nice, and that's what little girls are made of, and
right.
Snails' tails and whatnot. All the garbage is boys. Well, you had a number of young men, boys, growing up, always believing that women are better than they are. So naturally, when guys start getting into the whole dating scene, they're figuring, well, I got to find a woman who's going to be a good mother to my kids, and you know what? She knows better than me. She's going to be smarter than me anyway, so I'm going to look to her to lead the relationship. So what she says has to be true, because in their little minds, women would never lie. Meanwhile, the reality is, women are just as screwed up as men. If anything, they're so repressed and they're so beaten down as young girls, they might be even more screwed up. A guy who's maybe 15 years old is looking to a 15-year-old girl who's more screwed up than him to lead the relationship, and that's going to kill him.
Man, I don't know. I mean, okay, my opinion, I think $30 on a meal. If you're spending, don't spend more than $30, because to me, it's not about what you buy somebody. It's about to see if you're compatible with somebody.
Right.
And And I just think men today, and I want to get your opinion on this, have lost the art of realizing or trying to find someone compatible.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to comment, when you're spending money on a date, you have to calibrate to the situation. If you're a corporate executive and you're dating a girl who's a university student, you know what? Spending $20 on a date is okay. Because the fact is, you are a corporate executive. You want to get to know someone who's a student who probably can barely afford a cup of coffee at that point in her life. That's not a time to be stingy. Personally, I'm a very giving person, so in situations like that, I'm very giving. If I'm in a situation, though, where I have been, and sometimes still am, where I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm going out on a date with a girl, I simply will not schedule dates over dinner. I will meet them for a coffee date, or, never mind the coffee date, we're just going to go out for a walk. Now, while you're walking, you might pass a little, 7-Eleven or, one of these little convenience stores. You might pick up a bottle of water or something, or you might bring a bottle of water with you. The idea is that when you're first meeting them, as you said, I think a man needs to go back to the idea of qualifying the woman, of putting the woman in a category of his life. And this is one of the things I teach in my Inner Game book. Men have, let's say, 5 to 6 categories of women, different roles a woman can play in his life. There's the woman that he cannot have sex with for whatever reason. This includes, women who maybe, for whatever reason, they are undesirable as lovers. And it has nothing to do with the woman not being good enough. She might be your boss's wife. She might be your best friend's girlfriend. These are the off-limits women. This includes also your family, different female relatives who, whether or not, you find them attractive, for obvious reasons, they are off-limits. The next category is a woman you would have a one-night stand with. The next category is the woman you would have as a regular sex buddy. The next category up is a non-exclusive girlfriend. The next category up is you have a harem queen. And then finally, the last category is, of course, a wife.
One moment, Frank. I don't mean to interrupt you. We got a phone call. I'd like to bring in area code 646. You're on live with Frank B. Kermit. Which name is? How you doing? Caller?
Hi, hey, it's Conan calling in here. I have a quick question. How do you escape the lure of the nightclubs? I guess it would apply to both of you.
Escape the lure of the nightclubs?
As you mean as in going to the nightclubs and trying to pick up a woman?
Right, I want to break away from that and avoid all the craziness involved.
Well, you know what, Frank, you want to take that one first?
Sure, I'll take it. If you want to break away from the nightclubs, the easy answer is don't go to nightclubs. But obviously there's something about it that is attracting you. Maybe it's the drama involved. Maybe it's the fantasy of being in the nightclubs. So what I would strongly recommend for you specifically, let's come up with a list of different places you could go to instead of nightclubs. Off the top of my head, university libraries, bookstores. Go to the cafes in the club area, but do not go into the club, just go to the cafes there. Also, depending on the type of work you do and where you live, there has to be areas that are social for people just to hang out. Lunchtime during the corporate section, where everybody goes out to eat when the weather is nice, is a nice place to go do some girl watching and see somebody you want to approach.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. And also, my thing that I would tell most guys is really to stay out of the clubs, but there's happy hour. Happy hour to me is pretty safe. Everyone's getting off of work and they want to kind of let their hair down. But I would usually suggest that you don't go in the first time and try to pick up on women. Go in there, feel the place out, and meet a lot of people, because one thing about happy hour is everybody usually goes to the same spot. If you see them there, you're going to see them there again. What do you think about that, Frank?
I think that's a pretty good idea if you plan to frequent a happy hour
right.
On an ongoing basis. I'd like to ask a question to our caller.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Caller, here's my question to you. What is your motivation for getting out of the club scene? What are you hoping to get or get rid of?
I want to meet women in a more natural environment, and I kind of resent a little bit the kind of getting mugged by the nightclub. They might charge a huge cover fee or lots of money for drinks and coat check and just all the craziness of it all. I'd like to get back to a more sane approach to to meeting women.
Can I ask you what type of sex you're looking for? Are you looking for one-night stands? Are you looking for long-term relationships? Where are you at in that spectrum?
I'd like to get a few women, kind of something happening with them, on maybe an ongoing basis, okay. And then maybe look for the jade type of girl that you've ended up with.
All right, so let's look at that. If you're looking to get into relationship management, the first thing you're going to need to do is come up with a criteria list.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the type of woman that you would have as a regular sex buddy, but who you wouldn't really want to be in a more committed relationship in, is going to have different criteria than the woman that you would want as your harem queen or your non-exclusive girlfriend. Your non-exclusive girlfriend is the girl that you don't bring to family functions. Your harem queen is the girl you bring to the family functions. So on that alone, you are already going to have a certain criteria in your head that you're going to want listed.
Okay.
I would start with that. Start writing up your criteria. So this way, when you meet a girl, you have something to talk about. You can ask her questions about what she thinks on certain things.
Right.
That doesn't mean the very first question to her is, how many kids do you want to have? But you might want to start with simpler questions like, hey, do you smoke? Why? Because in your philosophy, you might have sex with a woman who smokes. You might even have a non-exclusive girlfriend who smokes. But if you have asthma, you wouldn't want to marry a girl who smokes, so you wouldn't even want a harem queen who smokes. It seems like a simple enough thing, but it's not, because guys get into situations where they're talking with girls, and even if they feel an attraction for a girl, they need to be thinking like men. They need to be thinking in terms of their criteria and boundaries. So even if they do get attached to a girl, they don't invest into the wrong type of girl.
I'd like to talk a little bit about what you're saying. You're absolutely right. The problem is there's a lot of men that are married to women who were booty calls, or women who were just supposed to be that one-night stand or that girlfriend, the flavor of the month girlfriend. And that's the problem. They get hooked into these women and feel that they have to marry them. They really don't know too much about them. They may have great sex. And, Frank, what do you think about that? Later on down the line, they realize that, they're not compatible, then they're divorced.
I think that the men in those situations feel a certain pressure. They've been with a girl a certain amount of time. She's getting older. She hasn't really dated anybody else. They start feeling guilty because they don't want to leave her. They don't want to hurt her. They may have pressure from their own families to settle down. And they haven't really put in the effort to have more women in their lives that they can choose from.
Caller, I'd like to ask a caller a question. How many women are you, are you working at daytime or at nighttime?
Daytime.
Okay, do you, when you're out, when you see a woman, do you ever speak to any of them, or you just walk by them?
I try to speak to them, but sometimes I feel like, say it's a shopping mall, it's very busy, and I feel a little held somehow.
All right, can I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah, please.
All right, when you're in a shopping mall and you're seeing women walking around, understand that a shopping mall can be a fun place to meet women. It can also be very challenging if she's with her parents, if she's with a group of friends. I've often found that in a shopping mall, if you approach a woman on something that she is wearing, it's always been an easy opportunity to start a conversation. So let's say she's wearing a particular earring that is unique. If she's wearing a particular style of clothing, if she's got a ring, a belt, a necklace, look for something that would accentuate her. Now, if you go up to a girl and say, hey, you're really pretty, you're really hot, if she's just looking for attention, you've just given her attention cookie, and she'll just walk away and say, thank you very much. If you go up to her with the attitude of, hey, you got some really interesting glasses, where did you get them? Those are a lot easier conversation starters because you're asking for the story behind what they have on. Never forget, women will dress in whatever means possible, always to get male attention.
Absolutely.
I have a secondary question.
Sure.
The secondary question is, it's just about to slip my mind. It's that thing about being sort of on the radio, as it were.
Take your time.
Okay. I know what it is. Sometimes I'll see a girl, and it's that borderline of attractiveness, or I might see something about her that I almost talk myself out of talking to the girl because I'm way too fussy. How do you fix this?
All right. The only way that you're allowed to be fussy is if you're already getting laid.
Absolutely.
If you have not gotten laid, and you have to set a certain time frame in your head. Let's say you haven't gotten laid for 3 months. Well, for every month that you have not gotten laid, you must lower your standards, because that is an indication of what you can get. If you haven't gotten laid in, let's say, a year, for God's sake, get laid, get over the hump. You have to understand that for men, sex is a balancing tool. A guy goes without sex for a long time, he becomes damaged. So when you're sitting there and you're debating, should I, shouldn't I, so on and so forth, you got to understand something. That's not your job. That's for the woman. That's for the woman to be wishy-washy and let the man take the lead. You're a man. You must lead. Your job is not to find out, well, do I like her or not, and da-da-da. You got to go up to her and find out what role she could play in your life. So you still have to approach her. Once you find out what role she could play in your life, then you're in a position to decide whether or not you want to pursue it, but not before.
Because you have the choice.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Take care.
All right. Yeah, that was a great call. But, yeah, oh, man, I mean, we've got to jump on to your next book.
All right.
And I'm a man. That's my job. Yes, I know. I got it. I'm pausing because I want everybody to hear his other book. I'm a man, and that's my job. What was the inspiration? Before we get into the book, tell me, what was the inspiration behind it, man?
The inspiration behind it is that initially I was always a believer that inner game is not everything. Because I knew a lot of guys, especially through my work, through my own development, that had a really broken inner game, but they were still getting laid.
Right.
So I had, okay, you know what, inner game is great, but if all you have is inner game, you can attract the women who want you, but you don't necessarily get the women you want.
Okay.
And I met a number of inner game gurus who were all teaching, guys, it's all inner game, and they were just teaching inner game, and I found that the gurus themselves did not have inner game.
Oh, man. Okay,
if you have to get drunk before you approach a girl, you have no business teaching any guy about what it means to have inner game.
You mean someone that is getting drunk?
I'm talking about a guy there's a guy here in Toronto who teaches guys, it's all inner game. The thing is that this guy's an alcoholic. He has to get drunk before he goes out and does anything with women. That's not inner game to me.
It's alcoholism.
Okay. I knew another, and this was at a Cliffsless convention where you had a number of guys who are, at the top of their game. And there was one guy there who was a known inner game guru. And he was just bad-mouthing other guys who I know have game, just because he didn't like their style of game.
Okay.
And I look at that and I say, you know what? A guy who's got really solid inner game doesn't have to put other people down for no reason.
Right.
There's a difference between saying, hey, don't deal with that person because that person is involved in things that is going to screw up your life. But if you just don't like somebody, if you have to constantly badmouth somebody, I see that as a sign that the person lacks inner game. In the work that I've been doing, I came up with a lot of writing exercises to help my students kind of get out of their funks. And I just said, you know what, I've got enough of these writing exercises, so I put together this inner game book, which is a workbook. I have the 10 base philosophies in life, those that have helped me sort of clear up my garbage and be able to move on. I have my top 10 rules of relationships that I follow, which help keep me on the right path. I got about 50 writing exercises so that guys can sit down and write out their ideas so that they can constantly refer back to them, pulling them out of their heads.
Absolutely.
I chart the development of going from being a loser to being a seducer in training to being a master seducer, what you can expect at each level, what are some pitfalls that may happen, so that if, let's say, at a particular level, you start getting skill, but you start losing some of your friends because they're jealous of you that you're actually going out there and getting women. Is that a normal part of the process? Yes. How do you know? Well, it's in my book. I actually chart when that's going to happen, so you can actually see what level you're actually at. So that was the point of the book. The book was basically forced into existence just because I felt there was a demand for it.
Now let's talk about marriage, because I mean, if y'all know, I'm married, been married for 8 years, great relationship and everything, and I try to let people know that when you become married or get into a committed relationship, it's something that is like a needle in a haystack, so to speak. I mean, every woman is not going to be your wife.
No. And
you have to go through them, like you say. You just gotta find that right one for you. First, before we talk about your marriage, I'd like to get your thoughts on the sanctity of marriage today.
I think that marriage, as a concept, is a good thing. I think that some people are naturally designed to be happy in monogamous relationships.
Oh.
But a marriage doesn't necessarily have to be monogamous. You have to decide what kind of a marriage you want. You have to be very clear as to the type of lifestyle you want. And then find someone who can support that lifestyle. Men have to go ahead.
No, I was saying, the thing that gets under my skin is when I look at these women who want big weddings, and that's, and again, I you know, as a man, it's your responsibility to make sure that if you do spend the money on the big wedding, that there's money left over for tomorrow. And I know one of the biggest causes of divorce and women cheating and all that other stuff, it comes down to finances.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge that, and I want to give you my perspective on that.
Go ahead.
All right. It's not the finances per se. It's what the finances can help achieve. For some women, finances achieve feelings. If they're with somebody who has a lot of money, or if they get like a real high going shopping or whatnot, they need the finances because of the feelings they get from having the money, whether it's feelings of security or feelings of enjoyment or lots of drama. The idea of when a woman wants to spend lots of money on a wedding, my feeling is that if you don't want to spend that kind of money on a wedding, if you really don't believe that that's right, then that has to become part of your criteria when you're dating women. So let's say you're dating a woman and you actually go to a wedding with her. That's where you ask her questions. You know what? They must have spent a lot of money on this wedding. See what her reaction is. If she says, well, you know, it's the one day of your life, it's the most important day of your life, you're supposed to do that. If you're the type of man that does not want a big wedding, then she's already just proven that she's not the woman you should be committing to, and you should be finding someone else.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I very much connected with my wife is that my wife and I both did not want the big poofy wedding. Because she's of the mind of, why should I spend, $30,000 on a wedding when I could spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a wedding and put the rest towards buying a house?
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, when she says that, in my mind, I feel exactly the same way. I just check that off and I say, okay, she's just provided me with my wife criteria.
Mm-hmm.
God bless her.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now, there are women who want the big poofy wedding, and you know what? There are guys out there who enjoy the big poofy wedding too, because it's their way of saying, look what I can give to my woman. Look at the way that I can make my woman happy. And you know what? Some guys love the attention too. They love the drama.
That's odd to me. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I can't count on my fingers how many men I've known to have these huge weddings.
Those are the ones that's normally dressed in white on their wedding day.
to only at the end of the whole thing, at the end of the day, are right at divorce court. She takes that ring and pawns it, gets herself fixed up for the next guy.
And then he is still stuck paying the bills.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look, my attitude is always the same when I deal with any guy coming to me asking these type of questions. You as the man must decide exactly what your lifestyle is supposed to be. Emotional need number 5 of all men is that they seek a woman who can support and nurture and invest in their lifestyle. You cannot look to the woman and say, honey, I will follow whatever lifestyle you want. She is a woman. You are the man. It is your obligation to lead. That's why the title of my book is not I'm a man and I, will follow the woman. Okay? The title of my book is I'm a man, that's my job. Because when I'm dealing with a guy who doesn't get the concept that it's his obligation to lead, it's easier to explain it to him, look, do you have a job? Well, usually they do. What time do you have to show up at work? They tell me. Well, what if you just want to show up, an hour late? Well, then they're going to get in trouble with their boss, so on and so forth. Oh, so it's your job to show up on time. But do you love your job? I mean, would you do it if nobody paid you to do it? Most guys say, well, no. If they're not going to pay me, I'm going to go work elsewhere. Aha. Magic formula. When a guy thinks of it as his job, he's more willing to do it. Being a man is no longer just the gender you were born into. Being a man is an obligation. It's your job to be the man. That means that sometimes you're going to have to do things you don't want to do. There are times when you're really tired and you don't want to lead the relationship because you've been up for an extra shift at work. You're tired. You got bills to pay. Your mind is on 3 different things at once. And that's when she says, you know what, honey? I'd really like to do blank. And blank is something that you really can't afford. And as the man, you have to say, honey, we can't afford that right now. And she might get pissed. She might get angry. She might be disappointed. You got to manage that. From everything from yelling at her and saying enough is enough to putting your arms around her, hugging her, saying it's going to be all right.
Absolutely, and but what I've noticed is that there are nowadays. I'm not trying to go back before, but it's just the women. There's a lot of women who are not allowing the men to be men. It's like the men are the women and the women are the men.
I can understand that, and I got 2 things to say about that. Most of these women have been brought up to not trust men. They've been let down too many times when they've let the man take the lead and he screwed up and he hurt her. So that's where part of that is coming from. The second thing is, no woman is going to let you lead. The man has to take leadership.
Absolutely.
And if you find a woman that is overly competing with you and is not offering you some compliance, that's a sign that you got to say, you know what? She should never earn a higher place in my life than the most she could ever get. If the most that you could ever have with her is a one-night stand, don't ever allow her to earn more than that if she's going to be that difficult.
So you're married.
Yeah.
How did you know that your wife was the perfect one for you?
I went into that first date with certain information about her already. Mm-hmm. I had already told her what a lot of my boundaries were. And when I'm talking to any girl, I'm usually trying to figure out what role they're going to play in my life. When it came to Jade, by the end of the first date, which, by the way, lasted 3 days, our first date was 36 hours. By the end of that date, she had pretty well hit every single criteria that I'm looking for in a wife. So it was a no-brainer for me. By the end of the 36 hours, I was already calling her my wife. She was calling me her husband.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't say mine was that soon, but I knew that when my woman knew that us going out wasn't about me spending money on her. Mm-hmm. It was more about getting to know me, and it was just a lot of little things. But those little things built up into a lot of big things where I knew, because I'm picky. I've been there, I've done that, I've done it all. Mm-hmm. But again, if I'm going to settle down, it's got to be with someone who meets 98% of my criteria of things, and she fulfilled over 100%. So, hands down, perfect. And 8 years later, we're still fine, and everything's wonderful.
Another comment about how guys who are really good with women, when they finally do choose one to settle down with, it's more reassuring to the woman to be and end up with a man who's had lots of experience with women. Because the guy who hasn't really dated much, the guy who has not had sex, the guy who has not had a variety of experience and a variety of women, he's the one that she fears abandonment from. Because she can never truly trust that he chose her when he had other options. It's the guy who is doing very well with women, that when he chooses a woman, it has much deeper meaning for her.
Absolutely. But the guys out there, that doesn't mean that just because she fixed you a meal last night and she paid a bill doesn't mean she's perfect for you. It takes time. Well, not in Frank's case, because Frank knew what he wanted. It's a difference, and that's what I want to ask you about. Also, what is the biggest thing about being married after your seducer lifestyle?
In my case, I think that the biggest change for me is that I can no longer threaten fear of abandonment. When you're living the life of a player, when you are going out and attracting women, you're using fear of abandonment as an attraction mechanism. The idea is that, honey, you better pay attention to this. You better jump on this train, because once this train leaves, you don't get a second chance. That is very cocky. That's incredibly confident.
Yeah.
But it creates a lot of attraction, because the idea is he's going to leave if I don't do something now. When you're in seducer mode and you're having ongoing relationships, fear of abandonment is used differently. And the fear of abandonment is used in the way to maintain certain behaviors, where you say, look, if you want to continue to be with me, you have to behave in a certain manner. Now, if you don't behave in that manner, then you'll just be removed. But that addresses fear of abandonment for women because it gives her the opportunity to earn the attention.
Can you say that one more time, that last sentence, please?
When a guy sets those type of criteria for a woman's behaviors, where he tells her, behave in this way or you'll be removed from my life, it actually addresses her fear of abandonment because she has the opportunity to earn his attentions. That
is one of, I mean, if we were living in, if every man thought like you and I thought, I think the strip clubs will go down. They will lose a little bit of money. I think that the jewelry stores would lose a little bit of money. I think that the world would just change. It'll be more about, forget that. I gotta respect him. He's demanding respect, and I just think that's something that men are not demanding these days. Is respect me as a man, as a lover, as a husband, as your boyfriend. Respect me. But how can these guys be demanding respect from their women? These guys still are struggling with the idea of how to respect themselves. I know. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. They have no idea. See, when I tell people you have to love yourself, and I know it's cliche, they think it's the corniest, worst thing I can ever tell them. Mm-hmm. And I try to explain to them, hey, look, Kerm, I know you love you, and I love some of me. Mm-hmm. I love me too much. I love me.
And I love me too.
And you love you too. And we love, I love myself. So, no, there will never be a female to disrespect me, yell at me, try to hit me. Now, when I got hit with the ketchup bottle, I was about 21. When she broke my Prince records and hit with the ketchup bottle.
Was it Heinz or Hunt?
It was a Heinz ketchup bottle, man.
Oh, she completely disrespected.
Yeah, it was disrespectful.
If it was Hunt, then that would have gave you a little validation. But Heinz, oh no, man. I'm sorry.
Anyway, I'm just saying that when I tell people that, I don't think people really understand the meaning of loving themselves, Kerm.
Mm-hmm. The way I explain it to guys who are struggling with it, I tell them, look, set your boundaries, and then make sure that people follow whatever boundaries you have set.
Yes.
That will eventually lead to self-love. But when I'm dealing with guys who don't get those concepts, I give them writing exercises, I give them behavioral exercises.
Absolutely.
So even if they're not feeling it yet, they're still committing to the right actions that will eventually produce the feeling.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things, like, your father tells you to do something that you don't understand, but later on down the line, you're like, oh, I kind of get what he was saying.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you another question. What is the biggest difference between a pickup artist, seducer, and a married man?
Okay, the pickup artist is usually looking for a lot of different conquests, a high number. They're dealing with tactics that it's the pickup artist who has the most potential for using underhanded tactics because every relationship they go into is time limited. It's a lifestyle that is constantly about high recruitment. There's a lot of excitement and a lot of fun in it, but not every guy who goes into it understands that when they're 40, the life that they have right now is going to be the life that they're going to be trying to maintain. It gets much more difficult as you get older, unless you have other elements at work. And it also means that you got to be comfortable with being alone. I mean, even guys who are pimps, and they're living that type of pickup lifestyle where they're getting a lot of different girls, they're constantly recruiting, but when the chips are down, they could easily end up alone. And for all the sex that they get, it's a very lonely life. That's the pickup artist. The seducer is dealing more with ongoing relationships. Yeah, there may be a one-night stand every now and then, but he has a lower number of women, but they keep coming back. He could be with the same women for months at a time.
Oh, yeah.
He could have multiple relationships going on. The girls may get to know each other. They may become lovers, or they just might be friends, but they're at least aware that there's other women in the picture. It's an ongoing thing. That's how I define the seducer. And the seducer is not necessarily looking for one woman to sort of, become the one, but it can happen if he can find one woman that will address his emotional needs in the way the others cannot. The married man. This is a guy who has made a decision where he wants to build a life with one particular woman. Now, depending on how you structure a marriage, whether it's traditionally monogamous, slightly open, maybe a swinger lifestyle, or something to that effect, you're still saying, and this is an open declaration to the world, I have chosen this one woman to build my life with, to have kids with if I'm going to have kids, to put both our names on the house, put both our names on the car, to make a joint investment. I'm going to take care of some stuff, she's going to take care of some stuff, and this is an endeavor we're building together. When people are living together for a long time, I know that the government may consider them common law, but I don't.
No, me neither.
Okay, my attitude is, if you're going to commit, put the ring on the finger. If you're not going to commit, don't bother living together, because you're wasting everybody's time.
Oh, man.
And don't think for 1 second, especially in these common law couples who are having children, don't think for 1 second that it doesn't cross your kids' minds that mom and dad can split up at any time. I know one common law couple in Montreal. They have been common law for the longest time. They just never saw the point in getting married. And one day, one of their kids realizes, wait a minute, you mean you never got married? And the kids start saying things, you mean you could leave at any time? What the heck is this? Now you're dealing with an 8-year-old kid who's yelling at mom and dad for not being married. This kid was in a constant state of panic. The sheer terror, because everything that he had believed about what it means to be together was being challenged. This kid was only 8 years old. Eventually, the parents said, oh, geez, look, we better get married. Our kid is having a nervous breakdown here. So they went through the process and they got married, and the kid was reassured. Don't think for 1 second that your kids aren't aware of the fact that the reason that you haven't gotten married is because you want an out.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we have about 26 minutes, and there's some more questions I want to ask, so I'd like to get right on to it. I'd like to ask you about your new Emotional Needs Analyst Workbook. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
All right. People who have been reading Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, which is my bestseller, have the theoretical understanding of the emotional needs. What they're missing is the practical application. They'll go into field, they'll actually go into real life, and they'll talk to women, and they'll be able to analyze afterwards what they did right and what they did wrong. Part of what I'm trying to teach is how to get guys to do that on the spot.
Right.
Because that's where the game is played.
Absolutely.
The Emotional Needs Analysis Workbook is designed to teach guys how to think on the spot. The structure is very simple. I give you a 1-paragraph story of a given situation. Then I list all the emotional needs, and I have 3 columns. which ones got violated, which ones got addressed, and which ones were neutral, not even appear in the story. The goal of the book is to have you read that one paragraph story, and within, let's say, a few seconds, you go down the emotional needs list and you check off which ones you think were violated, which ones you think were addressed, which ones you think were neutral. Then I give you a page to say, okay, write out your explanations. Don't just tell me that her reputation got violated in this story. Write out why you think her reputation got violated. Then they turn to the back of the book and they get my answer, so that they can see on the spot how quickly they can pick up on stuff. The point of that workbook is to train your brain to be thinking about the emotional needs of women on the spot, so no matter what she says, no matter what she does, no matter who's around, you're always going to do the right thing that's going to lead her to have feelings and want sex with you.
Now, you have something called the Frank Advice brand.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Well, what I've done is that I've taken some of the best questions that people have given me over the last, let's say, 5 years, and I give them my frank advice, which can often be harsh, can sometimes be controversial. I've had guys come back and tell me, you know, when I was going through my divorce and you told me that I should deal with the fact that my wife might be having sex with other guys, man, that was really harsh. And I said, well, look, I'm not some therapist that wants to keep you stuck because I need to make a living off you. I'm going to be harsh. I'm going to tell you the way it is, because I'd rather deal with you in, let's say, 5 to 10 sessions, and then you never need my help again. I've just put that out in the form of a book. By the way, you wrote the introduction of that book, and a very good one, I must say.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And that's leading me to become a Frank Advice columnist. I'm currently in the Oyster newspaper, which is a swinger publication in the state of Colorado. So I'm actually doing an advice column there. My goal for 2008 is that by the end of 2008, my Frank Advice article will appear in a number of publications. So if anybody who's listening right now, if you either have access to or you think that a particular printed publication could use some of my Frank Advice, please just forward me along to them or forward them to me. I'm looking to get the message out.
What about your upcoming seminars for 2008? How much it costs and things? What do you got for there?
Well, up until now, because I've been running a layer and I've just been doing one-on-one telephone consultations, I haven't actually done any seminars. That's going to change in 2008. In 2008, I'm going to be having at least 3, if not 5 seminars. All are going to be videotaped, put on DVD. My first one is going to be on inner game. It's $300 a head to get into the inner game seminar. It's going to be a 2 or 3 day session, so that's only $100 a day for 3 full days, and that's more value for the money that you're going to get at any boot camp. And don't forget, it has the inner game workbook that goes with it, so you're getting a workbook already. Now, if you show up to the seminar with my workbook, you save $100. So that's $200 if you already have the workbook for 2 to 3 solid days, 8 to 10 hours a day of group time with me. That's going to happen in March. A couple of months later, I'm doing the Eye of the Seducer seminar. That's where it's the emotional needs analysis workbook. I'm going to create a new one specifically for that seminar. So if you buy the analysis workbook and go through the exercises and you feel you've learned something, the Eye of the Seducer, that seminar is all about how to spot the emotional needs on the spot. Never be stuck with something that you don't know what to say. You'll always know what to say because you'll know what emotional need needs to be addressed.
Now, I want to ask you a question about these layers and everything. How do you run, in your opinion, a successful non-commercial layer since you are a guru and everything?
In my case, because I have products and I do sell stuff and I do my seminars and workshops, I have a rule. If you're in the city of Toronto, as long as you're willing to show up to the meetings regularly and post on my board regularly, all the stuff that I normally charge for, you get for free. That's the point of a layer, where people are coming in regularly, they're coming in to the meetings, they're posting online, and we're all there to help one another. The fact is, some of the layer guys have become some of my best students, and they haven't paid me a cent. But they like to take my work, and they keep representing my work in new ways, and I'm getting a benefit from that. To keep a layer running successfully, there's about 3 or 4 points that are absolute musts. Rule number 1, no minors. When you're dealing with minors, you're dealing with legal issues that you just want to avoid. And rule number 2, no illegal activities whatsoever. Somebody posts something about how to get fake ID, gone. Somebody is a drug dealer, or we find out that they're involved in major illegal activities, we don't want to know, but if we find out, gone, out. And a third rule, which is where a lot of layers are failing these days, is that they have a split focus. You don't join a layer to learn how to become rich. There's enough organizations out there to teach you how to become rich. You don't join a layer because you have an interest in, I don't know, give me a hobby of some sort, like comic books.
Yeah, comic.
Okay? Everybody in your layer might be into comic books. Well, that's great, but it doesn't mean you set up a board as part of your layer for comic books. All that stuff is a distraction from guys focusing on building their love lives. And when you're doing change work in your love life, it's a painful process. You can't afford any of these other distractions. The fact is that, remember how I was telling you that a large percentage of the guys coming into the community are actually gay and they're just not willing to deal with their homosexuality?
Yes, yes.
These are the guys who are going to focus on all these other potential boards of interest when they should only be focusing on is seduction.
Right.
A lot of these layers now are trying to, develop like the complete man where we're covering all kinds of topics. Well, that doesn't work because you're dealing with most people who are already broken. You can't learn how to be rich from someone who's poor.
Right.
You can't learn, how to, if you're going to learn about becoming a comic book expert, go join your local comic shop. They usually have a list. You don't need to study, get involved in that when you're meeting guys who are there to teach you about how to be good with women. So if you can follow those 3 rules, no minors, no illegal activities whatsoever, that includes copyright sharing of stuff. People will take something that has a copyright, they'll shove it up onto a layer so that everybody can download it for free. You know what? That's it. When a layer turns away guest-speaking gurus, that's the reason. Because if the guest-speaking guru comes in, ends up on the board, and sees, oh my God, they've just stolen all of my stuff. This is why a lot of layers will insult the very gurus whose materials they're studying. This is why my layer has only had regular meetings since June.
Mm-hmm.
We've only been in operation for 6 months. We have had 10 guest speakers, most of whom have written a really great review of us that's on our board. Guest speakers are writing reviews about our layer because they see this is not a commercial thing. This is a place where people come in for free. I only ask $2 a head when people show up to meetings, and that's just to cover the rental of the room we're meeting in. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you don't even come to the meetings and you just post on the board, you don't even pay the $2.
That's amazing, man. Where can they go to get your books and your information and everything, man?
Everything out there. I sell my books through lulu.com, but the best place to go to franktalks.com. Every information about me, my biography, my quotes of what people have said about me, access to my books, access to my philosophies, reviews of my stuff, it's all at franktalks.com. You go there, it'll lead you to everything that's Frank.
Well, now, Frank, let me ask you a question, because this is something I don't understand with the Seduction Community, because we have about 16 minutes left, and you chop it up for a second. Now, what I don't understand, and you can help me with this, is that there's a lot of guys out there that are building these people up to do all these tricks and gimmicks and everything just to ask for a woman's phone number. And to me, asking for a woman's number has nothing to do with the game. It has nothing whatsoever, in my opinion. Where's all this coming from? I mean, is it really that hard? Do you have to go through, you have to be in A4 or C8 or B6 and all other stuff just to get a phone number?
All right. I'm going to point out something that's different between you and most of the guys who go to get into the community. The first thing is that you're already very naturally good with women. Okay? You've got a natural vibe about you. And that's really what a natural is. He's a guy who vibes well with women. So that getting the phone number or any tactic that will eventually lead to getting sex or whatnot, for you, you don't see it as a stage. You don't see it as a step. It's just something that you do because, well, of course I got to get her number. How else am I going to meet up with her? It's not a major issue for you. But you already know how to be charming. You already know how to seduce. You already know how to vibe. When you're taking a guy who doesn't know how to vibe, he's not even in a position to know how to socially bring up the idea of getting a phone number. I'll give you an example, okay? So that I really want to really hammer this home. A guy who knows how to vibe with women will know how to get a phone number from a girl in a way that does not hurt her reputation. He's smart enough to say, hey, you know what, I want to approach the girl who's working at McDonald's sweeping the floors. I know that if I approach her to get her phone number, I can't be loud about it. I got to be discreet because I don't want to get her in trouble with her boss. I don't want to embarrass her in front of her coworkers. When you're dealing with somebody who is socially inept, he doesn't even get those concepts. He's just thinking, I got to go up to her and get her phone number. So he might do it in a way that it isn't even because she won't like him, but the way he approaches and the way he vibes with her turns her off and says, Jesus Christ, this guy just embarrassed me in front of my coworkers. No, I don't want to give you my number. Get away from me. A lot of the tricks and tools that you're talking about, is that a place where guys should end up with? Of course not. But for some guys, it's a place to start. It's a place to say, okay, I'm not even used to talking with girls, so I'm going to go learn palmistry and I'm going to read a bunch of palms. It isn't the palmistry that's going to get the guy laid, but it's a tool so that he gets used to the idea of holding a girl's hand, of being able to talk to a girl while she's looking directly in his eyes and getting used to that so that he doesn't get nervous around girls. It gives him a subject that he feels he could talk about that would already be interesting to the girl. They're just tools to get you over the hump. Once you're over the hump, you can drop the tools, and you'll be able to have conversations of stuff that you're interested in because you've already learned a lot of the unspoken rules of social interactions.
Okay.
Okay, see, I teach a seminar on peacocking too. My peacocking thing is, look, I dress like a pimp, but every single item I wear, that comes with a story about me. So I'm not just, I don't paint my nails in that way.
Black.
Okay, because my persona is a very masculine type. It works for me because I'm already a big guy, and this is just what works. When I go, if and when I've gone out to clubs dressing like a pimp, I actually have a harder time because the girls that I like are a little bit more the quiet ones, the shy ones, and they just look at me and figure, why is he talking to me? Meanwhile, the girls who always gave me such a hard time and would just pretty much tell me get lost, now these hot women are coming up to me and touching me and saying, wow, you're so sexy. Wow, you've got the bling bling going on. And I'm thinking, you know what? When I've dressed normally and I've tried to talk to a girl like you, you gave me such a friggin' hard time. Now you're coming to me just because of the way I'm dressed and the way I look. It allowed me to understand the reality of a woman. I get it. I dressed like that to get women's attention. But when I got women's attention, I resented it. Because I knew the only reason she was talking to me was because of the way I looked. It was an incredible education.
So what do you, how do you feel about these men buying, like Christmas, I call it sucker me season. And it starts Christmas, runs through Valentine's Day and ends around tax time. How do you feel about these men that, in my case, reward bad behavior when a woman is not letting him be the man, not letting him lead, not letting him feel like he's leading the family or the relationship? How do you feel about those guys that buy these women gifts who treat them bad?
I pity them. I pity them because I was one of those guys about 10 years ago. About 10 years ago, that was me. And to go through the process of changing, of understanding that, you know what, if you have to buy her a microwave oven in order for her to love you, then she doesn't really love you. She just wants the microwave oven. Okay? That's what she loves. I pity them. I don't have any animosity or hatred for them because I know where they're coming from.
Can you tell us a story? You have a story that happened? You got 10 minutes, so.
All right, here's a story. The reason I used a microwave oven is because that's something I once bought a while ago.
Okay.
My girlfriend at the time, this is way before I ever got into the community or anything, we were, things were a bit strained. We would fight, have a lot of drama, have great sex. Things would be fine for a few hours, and then the drama would start up again. It was just this roller coaster. I knew that she could use a microwave oven. And at the time, I was a student at the time. I'm living, I had very little money, but I managed to save up $110, put it on my credit card, and I bought her a microwave, and she says, well, I don't even want a microwave, so I got it for her anyway. And she says, well, I'm not going to use it. And I said, that's fine, I'll just leave it here. And she ended up using it and started depending on it. And that was great, and she was so happy. It's like, oh, he took care of me, oh this, oh that, thank you so much. And, within a couple of weeks, we broke up again. Another situation, I was dating a girl. It was graduation time. Her family was not in the same city as her, so she was alone at graduation time. I did the whole thing where I bought her a bouquet of flowers. I was taking pictures of her, but she was just a bitch all day long. And I figured, well, you know what, maybe she's just sad because, she's missing her family. It's her graduation day, and she's here with me, and she doesn't have family, and you know what, I just let her treat me like a bitch, because I said, well, no, I've got to be nice, I understand, and to a certain point, you know what, when you're in a long-term relationship, there are going to be days where your partner is not necessarily going to be the best. The same way there are going to be days when you are stressed out and you're going to act like a jerk when you don't really want to. That's okay. But when it gets too far, when it's not just somebody being in a bitchy mood, it's borderline disrespectful behavior. That's where you got to put your foot down. And this girl, I bought her the flowers, I did all this, and she didn't even remember to say fucking thank you.
Do you hear this?
Okay. Now, when I dropped her off at home, a couple of hours later, I get a phone call from her. And she says, "Hi, I just wanted to write you and say, you know what? I never even thanked you for it." And she did say thank you afterwards. But the reason she said thank you is because when I dropped her off, I made a comment along the lines of, you're really fucking difficult today. And she got into a huff, and then she realized, you know what? I might actually lose this guy. So then she got all nice. But it was a false niceness.
Right, exactly.
What I have with my wife now is that we don't even buy each other Christmas presents.
Same with me.
Okay, I know that she wanted a CD player or something. If it's in my budget and I can afford it and I can get her something that I know that she would like that I could enjoy too, I won't wait until Christmas to buy it. I'll buy it because, okay, it's something that's it's a piece for the household.
And something that she wants.
Yeah. But it's not like, okay, I have to get something for Christmas. When my wife and I have the same birthday, we don't buy each other Christmas birthday presents. We don't go out of our way for Christmas presents. We don't buy each other stuff for Valentine's Day. We do nice things for each other throughout the year because that's part of building a relationship.
Absolutely. How do you, real quick, because we have 6 minutes, how do you feel about those women who expect you have to give me some on Christmas, you have to give me some on Valentine's Day? I have to show you the dope.
Okay, well, first of all, the best gift you can ever give a woman is sex. So any woman who's expecting a gift of that nature, use it to your advantage, give them sex. And you give them sex, with the music and the candles and this and that. But you give them sex. Why? So you get laid in the process too, and it doesn't cost you anything.
Wait, we're talking about the women that control the man through sex. So if he's not getting her...
Always look to the emotional need behind her actions. Mm-hmm. If she's demanding that he get her a diamond ring, or if she's demanding that he get her something, like a big ticket item, if she's doing it for one of the 10 emotional needs. Now, if she's doing it because she wants to build up her reputation so she can, show off to her girlfriends. If you can find another way to protect her reputation to her girlfriends, then you don't have to spend the money. and you would go down the list of emotional needs in that order. If, however, you're talking about someone who's just plain and simple is a bitch, that she has expectations which are unreasonable, that's when you have to start having other women on the side, and that'll do two things. Number one, it'll make her realize that other women want you, which is going to turn on her attraction for you. And number two, if she has any semblance of sense, if she's a normal to average woman when it comes to emotional reality, she might actually step up and say, hey, you know what, I better be nicer to this guy or I'm going to lose him. If she's completely damaged, then she will demand even more from you, and that's when you say, you know what, honey, you're just not worth it, and then you have to drop him.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know about the 10 emotional needs, then you need to go to his website and get his book. Frank, can you go ahead and give him your .com one more time, please?
The website is www.franktalks.com.
Hey, www.franktalks.com. Well, Frank, you know what? Hey, man, I enjoy these sit-down conversations with you. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come on here and chop it up with me, man.
You know, dude, I always enjoy talking with you. It's nice to talk game with someone who knows game. Just takes it up to another level. I'm really glad we had a caller, too. That was great.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I'm going to bid you a fair due. But again, ladies and gentlemen, franktalks.com. Go there if you want to know the secrets to good relationships. If you want to pick your game up, this guy gets 2 thumbs up and a middle finger. Check out this guy's site. He has game, and he's not BSing you. He's not going to blow smoke up your ass.
I appreciate you saying that. And, Dion, it was great to meet you. Hopefully next time we'll be able to talk more.
Thanks, man. It's good to hear, man. You had a lot of information that I really took to heart. And actually, I look forward to hearing from you again.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have him in again. Matter of fact, we'll try to get him in around Valentine's Day so we can tell these guys to stop rewarding bad behavior. But anyway, Frank, thank you so much for coming on to the show, man. And I'll give you a call later on after the show cuts off, buddy.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Thank you, Frank.
Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was your boy Frank from frankstalk.com, man. It's your boy the Dean, man. www.blogtalkradio.com/manuptoday. That was Frank from franktalks.com. I really enjoyed the interview, D. That was great, huh, man?
Oh, yeah. Awesome, man.
Hey, I want to congratulate your Titans for making it. They're in the playoffs. I'm sure you're happy about that.
Oh, most definitely. You know, sitting on pins and needles and stuff as usual.
Yeah, well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, 2008, we will get back to the other show that's Tuesday night. And let me see if do I have the commercial for it? Let me see if I can play the commercial again. Here's a commercial.
What's up, fellas? Tired of wasting your time and coming out of pocket on dates? Man, is your woman telling you what to do, like she's your mom? Then you need to listen to my dad, the Dean, his boy, the Flash, and the False Lady Honey, every Tuesday night, with Dad.
Dad got hoes.
With Uncle Plankton.
Haven't you figured it out? Nice guys finish last.
And Mom.
Down.
Oh, Florida. Don't forget, every Tuesday night, get your game together. Peace.
All right. Yes, now, not this Tuesday coming up, but the following Tuesday, we definitely kick that back off. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their busy schedule to check us out. Next week, I think we're going to have another guest talking game and everything. So if you want to check us out, then go to MySpace. It's www.myspace.com/dating, love, and sex. Also, if you want to get some of my products, such as the Dean Sleeves or my What Women Want and Why CD, you can go to, again, adviceonwomen.com. Adviceonwomen.com. Go to the store. We've got Ask the Puppet videos. We've got videos. We've got a lot of podcast shows, a lot of information that will help you get along. And 2008, again, is going to be a great year for us. We will release some products such as the List and my sex CDs that I've been getting bugged on a lot. They're pounding me on this thing, man. I got to get those CDs out, dog. But anyway, we got 29 seconds left. I want to thank D, man. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks to everybody taking the time out, man. Your Titans made it. My Cowboys are chilling for 2 weeks, and so it's on and popping. But I also want to thank Frank from franktalks.com for taking the time to chop it up for an hour and a half, man. That was a great show, man.
Awesome, man.
All right, everybody. Well, look, y'all take care. We will definitely see you next week, Sunday, same time, same station. This is the Dean. We're out.
Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com.
If you need help with your relationships, well, my buddy Frank here has got some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's, 'cause he knows what you are going through.